Right, well I guess you're going to be my model for setting focus then. Eh? Are you going to stay in here the whole time and be good? I highly doubt it. Hi guys, Elliot here, and today I'm going to be doing another Wheel of Time video. I know! Who'da thunk it, huh? On that note, I'd just like to give a huge thank you to Nablus for shouting out my last Wheel of Time video, and I'd like to extend that thank you to the whole of the Wheel of Time community. The response to the last video was more than I ever could have hoped for. All the comments, all the positive feedback. I feel privileged to be making more of these videos for such an active and amazing community. Let's just hope that the first video wasn't a one-off. As you can see guys, not in the studio today. The Thread team is currently working from home, so welcome to my makeshift studio. The backdrop is a little less interesting, but on the other hand, today I wanted to make a video about the Wheel of Time and how I think it should be adapted for television. I want to talk about what makes a good TV adaptation, things that could possibly be changed, and if I was the showrunner, things that I would want to utilise and get right in season 1 for the benefit of the rest of the series. I feel like I should put a disclaimer at the start of this video. I love the Wheel of Time. I think it's great. But it's not perfect. In one sense, the Wheel of Time is perfect because it's Robert Jordan, the creator's vision of the story, and you have to respect that. To a degree. Please don't unsubscribe. Books and TV are two different mediums and two very different styles of storytelling. Some things that work in a book might not necessarily be the best way to get that idea, emotion, or message across in a TV show. If you've ever tried to write a film and TV script yourself, you'll be aware of this motto, and you'll certainly be aware of it by the end of this video. Show, don't tell. You can read in a book what a character is thinking, how they're feeling, how only now when they're on the front lines facing a huge Trolloc army do they regret not taking their commanding officer's advice earlier and going for a bathroom break before marching off. That's a specific example, but it's an example. Very few people in life go around shouting out what they're thinking. But luckily for us, we have clever screenwriters and directors and talented actors who can portray these ideas, thoughts and emotions through the screen and into our eyeballs. Ugh. And as human beings, we're pretty good at recognising these emotions on screen. You can tell when someone is sad, or someone is faking a smile, or when someone is saying something that they don't really mean and hiding something. Subtext. Just as important as show, don't tell is subtext. Sometimes what a character isn't saying is just as important and revealing as what they are. If you're looking for some good examples of show, don't tell, take a look at this scene from Return of the King, where our merry band of hobbits return home to the Shire and struggle to readjust to normal life after everything they've been through. They are surrounded by people who have no idea just how close their quaint, pumpkin-loving culture came to being ended. So much said and not a single line of dialogue spoken. And if that example isn't enough for you, then just check out the entirety of Pixar's WALL-E. Incredible characterization and world establishment. The best Pixar movie ever. Fight me. It's not an obsession. So what makes a good adaptation? For this bit, I'm going to quickly need to explain the difference between story and plot. The plot is all the physical stuff that happens in a book, TV series, film, play. The story is what that physical stuff is actually about. So let's go through the plot of the first few Wheel of Time books. Our protagonist Rand is forced to leave the safety and seclusion of his home village when it is attacked by a horde of Trollocs, and a magic magician lady tells him that it might be his fault. They travel from point A to point B to point C, back to point B, then to point D, all the while meeting new characters and discovering new pieces of information, like, for instance, that Rand might be the reincarnation of a powerful warrior/sorcerer who defeated and locked away an ancient evil thousands of years ago. The hinges on that cell door keeping the evil caged are beginning to rust, and Rand has to prove to himself, as well as everyone else, that he is the one destined to defeat it by finding and wielding a magic sword. So that's the plot. The story is about a young farm boy who reluctantly leaves his old life behind and ventures out into a new, wide, wild world on a journey to discover the truth about his past. Pursued by ancient evils and pessimistic prophecy, he has to battle both baddies and his own destiny before finally accepting who he truly is and his role in events yet to come. Notice how the story has fewer concrete details and a lot more adjectives than the plot. In my opinion, for an adaptation to be good, it needs to stay true to the story, not necessarily the plot. Bear with me here. For instance, I have no problem with Rand realising he has the power to channel in Falm whilst fighting the Seanchan instead of in a magic garden somewhere in the Blight playing a weird tug of war with Agenor. What's important is that the revelation and the impact it has on the character stays the same, not so much the circumstances surrounding it. Speaking of character, in order for an adaptation to be successful, the second thing it needs to get right after story, or arguably before story if there's some kind of priority list, is character. Mostly the main ones. I won't really care if they change Uno's character a bit. It'd be a shame because his character is awesome, but I'm not going to start a mob march on Rafe Judkins' house. Actually, thinking about it, I take that all back. Don't fuck with Uno. But my point still stands. You can be fascinated by a world a book takes place in. You can be gripped by the story. You can be surprised by big plot points. But you fall in love with the characters. The characters are the heart and soul of the Wheel of Time. And if you get them right, it gives the show such a creative license to try out new things. The plot is essentially a series of difficult, dangerous, awkward and amusing scenarios that our characters find themselves in. It's not the situations that are entertaining on their own, it's seeing how our characters react to them. I personally don't have a problem with the writers for the new show putting the Emmonsfield gang in entirely new situations, so long as they stay true to the character and their development at that stage in the story. I think it'll make for entertaining scenes for both book readers and new fans alike. To use Game of Thrones as an example, again, this scene from Season 1, where Robert Baratheon and Cersei Lannister talk about their marriage. Not in the books, but a great scene nonetheless. Which brings me to the point that the TV series is a new opportunity to explore characters that perhaps weren't front and centre in the books. From what I've read online, Rafe Judkins has already admitted that Logain, played by Alvaro Morte, I hope I'm saying that right, will have an expanded role in the new series, and I cannot wait to see that. So now I want to talk about something that I think should be established and utilised early on in the series, and would be hugely beneficial for the success of the rest of the show. And that is getting the void right. There are a lot of practical problems when it comes to adapting a book to TV. With a book, the author's imagination is the only limitation. With TV shows and film, you've got budgets, time restraints, locations. Speaking from a producer's standpoint, when reading a script, the fewer times you can see interior or exterior preceding a previously unmentioned location, the better. The void in the books is a meditation technique, somewhere characters go to enter a zone of total focus and concentration. The concept is introduced to the audience as early on as the first chapter of the first book, when Rand is thinking about his father Tam and how he always wins the archery competition at Beltane. The technique Tam uses is called the flame in the void, where he imagines a flame in a dark void into which he pours all his fears and concerns and things that stop him from focusing. Now, the reason for getting the aesthetic of the void right early on is throughout the books, many characters have confrontations that take place on more of a mental than a physical level, and having an established location where the audience knows that's taking place inside a character's head would be hugely useful. Think forward to The Lord of Chaos when Rand is trapped in the box and begins having heavy conversations with Lews Therin in his head. The Void would be the ideal location for these interactions to take place. In terms of how the Void should look, I personally am imagining something similar to the Black Room from Under the Skin. I'm going to have to try and find a clip here where Scarlett Johansson isn't naked, where everything on the surface is reflected in the floor, but really it could be anything with a strong visual or audio motif that the audience comes to recognise. For instance, a certain type of reverb or echo which only takes effect in the Void. If I was in Rafe Judkins' shoes, I'd be spending a lot of time thinking about how to get the Void right. That, and how to have Padan Fane's storyline actually, I don't know, go somewhere. So moving on to things they could change. Bear with me while I read you my fanfiction. I'm joking. Anyway, another thing film and TV shows do differently to the books is ramp up that drama. Robb Stark's wife is alive and well in the books. Not so much his on-screen wife and their unborn baby. Oh no. Frodo hangs on to the ring for several years after Bilbo's birthday party while Gandalf gallivants about looking for Gollum. In the films, it's merely a matter of months before Frodo is being forced to pack his bags and leave Bag End. Creating that urgency, build that drama. I'd like to talk you through an example of a scene from the books that I think should be changed, and these changes would add a lot more drama to the situation. Change is probably the wrong word. Add is a better one. So let me transport you way ahead to the end of the Gathering Storm, to the peaks of Dragonmount, where Rand is about to make his transformation into Zen Rand. I loved the reunion between Rand and his father, and how Tam Althor's words, "Why go to battle? What is the point?" whirling around his son's head as the storm rages around Rand. Through the roaring wind and deafening thunder, we faintly start to hear a baby crying. The sounds of the storm start to melt away, and the crying becomes clearer. It's not one, but two babies. And just then, we hear Lews Therin's voice for the last time. Because every time we live again, we get to love again. I always considered the fact that we never saw Elaine give birth to her and Rand's twins a massively missed opportunity in the books. Having Elaine go into labour just as Rand is about to kill himself and take the rest of the world with him would not only add to the drama, but provide an emotionally satisfying seed for Rand's sudden character growth. An answer to the questions he's been asking himself: why go to battle? What is the point? Why keep going? As I've said before, the difficulty in adapting a book to a film or TV is showing what a character is thinking or feeling in a visual way. Show, don't tell. For me, Rand's revelation that he's fighting for those he loves and their future couldn't be more perfectly presented than him looking down at his two newborn babies. Did I really just make a whole video to tell you guys this idea and find out what you think? Maybe. So I'd like to finish off this video with a question. Do you think the Wheel of Time TV series should start with the prologue at the beginning of The Eye of the World? I'm going to go with yes. And the reason for that is the opening to Eye of the World is very safe and fantasy trope heavy. You've got a father and son walking down a road in the woods, being stalked by a figure in black on a black horse, their face obscured. People will already be comparing the series to Lord of the Rings just because of Lord of the Rings' massive cultural presence, and also the fact that Amazon are releasing a Lord of the Rings TV series around the same time as The Wheel of Time. You don't want people thinking they've accidentally clicked on the wrong show. The prologue acts as a window looking out into the amazing wider world that Robert Jordan created and the fantastic story that The Wheel of Time is. And I think to give audiences a glimpse of that right at the start will have them hooked. So that was my second Wheel of Time video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe. If you didn't like it, please comment as well, and feel free to tell me what I did wrong. I had a great time chatting with everyone in the comments for my previous video, so please do feel free to say hi. Again, huge thank you to Nameless for shouting out my last video. And if you want to see more from Thread, head over to our website, thread.com. We got reviews, we got articles, we got videos, we got loads of great stuff. Thank you guys, and see you again soon. least I wasn't alone for this video. Do you want to say hello? Well, I'm afraid it's time to say bye. Bye.